Hey, what is up, Schlog? About 4 weeks ago, I ended up breaking my leg while bouldering up in Big Cottonwood Canyon. I broke my tibia and fibia in my leg, and so I've been recovering and doing a lot of, well, not much, just healing lately. I basically decided to do like a road to recovery series. Not very original or anything, but I think just for myself it's like a good motivation to get stronger, which for me, my goal this year was to climb V12, so I'm thinking of starting the series showing my rehab process going from basically not climbing at all, like not walking or anything, to ending it eventually when I do climb V12, which might be a year, might be a year and a half, 2 years, not sure. Hopefully pretty short if I'm lucky. Alright, I'll start basically explaining what happened from the beginning. It was after the first day back at the fall semester. I go to school at the University of Utah. So I finished classes and me and my roommate were debating whether we had time to go bouldering, and I wanted to try to do some harder things before I had a busy week, had work and stuff, so I wanted to climb something hard. So we decided to head up to Big Cottonwood Canyon because that was a bit cooler, even though it was still pretty hot in the middle of August. So we drove up to Big Cottonwood Canyon to this boulder called the Millie Lift boulder, which is like a granite block it's like really close. It's in like next to a lift at the Brian Ski Resort and pretty close to the car. We got there, we had about like 3 pads or so, 3 pads in the blubber, and then there's another guy we met when we got there. So in total we probably had like 5 or so pads, which is, pretty comfortable for a boulder of that size. So we did the normal thing, set up the pad, started warming up, and the boulder has a few lines on it. The main goal for me was a V10, I think, called Seam Dyno, Mike's Dyno, something like that. I'll put the name in post. But we started warming up on this apparently classic V6 called Orange Crush, and basically this like techie-ish V6 starts on this like a cool pinch and then like climbs up this arête. And we had the pads set up in like an alright scenario, but there is this boulder that kind of like is in the landing, not exactly where you'd fall, but like pretty, like a bit of an annoyance, like in the way. So we put the blubber on that and we had someone spotting off of that, but the nature of the way the boulder is rounded is the pads, because they're square, they didn't like line up against it perfectly. So there were a few gaps in right along where the boulder and the pads meet up because of the shape. So I'll probably put a diagram in to like better explain it, but it wasn't perfect. We probably could have fixed it with better pad setup, but it was just the warm-up. I wasn't like seriously giving red pony attempts. And on this boulder, Orange Crush, I don't exactly actually know the beta, I was just like on-sighting, but there's this, what I thought was like a little dead point to like big sloper lip thing. You couldn't really tell whether it was a jug or a sloper or whatever, but I like climb up a bit, I like kind of half commit to it, and then I fall, and unfortunately for me, my left leg lands just in the pad gap between where the rock is and where the pad ends. So basically the act of it getting stuck in there ended up twisting and ended up breaking both my tibia and my fibia. Initially I didn't even realize I had broken it, like I thought I maybe sprained an ankle, and then upon looking at my leg, seeing that it was basically at a 90-degree angle, I realized that it was not a sprained ankle and that this is a lot more serious. So, instantly called 911. Basically, an ambulance would have been quite a bit longer to get there than just riding in my friend's car, considering it's like a 30-ish minute drive from like Salt Lake, from like the top of the canyon to like where ambulance and hospitals are. So we decided just to opt to carry me to the car, and they like laid me in the back of the seats. The drive was pretty terrible. I mean, it was definitely the worst pain of my life, but definitely like not much you can really do about that. Got through it, got to the hospital, got me on some pain meds, and then that like same night they had surgery on my leg, which was to like clean it up because there was technically like a open wound fracture or whatever, so there's a hole poked through by the bone. So they had to clean that up. They had to like reattach the pieces together. They put a titanium rod in to like solidly put everything in place, and I just woke up the next morning and leg all fixed, but now on a long period of recovery. So it's been almost 4 weeks since then, so I've had like time to adjust to life. Weeks were different, progress along the way. First week couldn't do much of anything. Second week I started like moving around on like crutches and like this little office chair I got, and started like doing light exercise and stuff. Third week was a lot better, started like moving around more freely without much pain. And then this last week I've started driving again, and then I've started going back to school, which is nice. So I've been making progress. The time frame for recovery is varied, obviously, but something like top roping I should be able to do in maybe like 3 or 4 weeks here. Just kind of like as soon as I start learning how to walk again, I should be able to like start top roping and getting some climbing muscles in, and then probably progress to like low ball bouldering and like just very like not anything where you're taking falls more than like a foot off the ground. And then maybe outdoor low ball bouldering might come next. I'm not sure how long that will take. Still probably not going to want to be taking falls for a while, but probably around the 6th month mark I'll probably be doing probably nothing high, but like be able to fall on the leg and like do more conventional training. So it'll be a process, potentially up to a year before I'm like 100% taking big falls again. But I'm glad that I'll have like at least the opportunity to do small progression as we go along. Sadly, it does mean that I'm going to be missing almost the entirety of the fall season here in Salt Lake City, which is a bummer. I had a lot of projects I was hoping to finish off, but there is, still good climbing to be had in the winter when I might be starting my climbing again. There is definitely areas like St. George with Mose Valley that have a lot of good winter climbing. Ogden is a great winter area for bouldering, and then Ibex. None of those areas are like super close. I guess Ogden's pretty close, but it'll be at least good to have options during the winter so that I can like, progress back all the way to where I was. I'll probably just be posting updates along my training. I've been like rehabbing finger injuries. I had like a gnarly finger injury right here, but it's more or less healed now, which is good. And getting strong fingers and basically going from the process of not really climbing at all to climbing harder than I ever have before. So we'll see how this series goes. Hopefully I can keep up with it. I think I'm psyched to, I guess go from being a Gumby to a good climber again, and we'll see how it goes.